Just whenever you're ready.
Okay, hi. It's Gerra.
It's Kolin.
Oh, you said your name today. And today on Naptime Notes, we're going to be talking about Amelia's birth story, because I really enjoy listening to people talk about birth stories. I know some people don't. They don't need all the gory details, but we're going to give it to you today.
Gross.
So I guess we'll start with the weeks leading up to her birth, where I was having a lot of contractions, pretty much every day. And
what was it? We went to the hospital one time before.
we went twice before. One time I thought that my water had broken. We were going to go to a pumpkin patch, and then I thought my water broke, but it didn't. But I didn't pee myself, if that's what you're thinking either. And then the second time, it was like really early in the morning. And I woke up with contractions. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I got into the tub, and I was wondering if they were going to slow down, but they were pretty consistent. We got in the car, and they were still pretty consistent. Then we got to the hospital, and they pretty much stopped. So we turned around, and we went back home. That was exhausting. And then I guess for the actual labor, I did get induced. So I didn't go into labor naturally. I was about...
Well, you're kind of skipping.
Well, what? What did I skip?
Just, we went to the hospital when we actually had the baby. So we went to the hospital, and then we sat there for, 2-3 days?
No, we were, because when I went to go get induced, they didn't start me on the Pitocin until like 6 o'clock at night. But they told us to check in at like 9 or 10 in the morning. It was really early. And we got there, and I can't remember why they didn't start it.
Because you wanted to just... You thought it was going to... They gave you the option, and you just said no.
No, because there were other people...
That's what it was.
No, there were other people in labor, and they didn't have the staff at the time to monitor me and the baby.
Right.
I think that's what it was. And so we got there pretty early, and we got a room and everything. I also wanted the room with the pool, or with the tub.
Yeah.
With the whirlpool tub, and they didn't have one at the time. So they started the induction at about 6 or 7 at night. And they started me right on Pitocin, nothing else to start it, because I really wasn't progressing through all of the labor before, which I found out today is actually called prodromal. I hope I'm saying that right. Prodromal labor. It's when you're having contractions and your body is essentially getting ready to go into labor, but nothing's progressing. But they put me on the Pitocin, and I was having the contractions again, but again, nothing was progressing. Like, my waters were still intact. I was still at like 1 centimeter all night. And then at like 11 or 12, I just got really upset. And I woke Colin up, and I was crying because it was taking so much longer than I thought it was going to take. So, I'd been sitting in this uncomfortable hospital bed for hours, and I'm just uncomfortable and in pain, but nothing's happening. So they turned off the Pitocin. I don't know if you even remember this because you were like half asleep. But they turned off the Pitocin, and I was still contracting throughout the night, but again, nothing was really progressing. So my doctor got there in the morning, and she broke my water to try to get things going. And having your water broken is one of the weirdest feelings in the world. It's literally just like gushing out of you. It's really, I don't even know how to describe it. It's really, yeah, like you totally know what I'm talking about. It's really the strangest feeling in the world. and it just kept going and kept going and kept going for what felt like forever. And then after she broke my water, labor started pretty fast, pretty hard and fast. And then they moved me into the room with the whirlpool tub, and I got to sit in it for maybe 30 minutes, an hour or something like that. It really wasn't that long because I was induced. They had to continually monitor the baby, so I wasn't really able to move around as much as I would have liked, because I originally wanted to do her birth naturally. I didn't want an epidural. I didn't want any drugs, but being a first-time mom, I didn't really know what to expect, and it was kind of rough. And what did I do after that?
You got the epidural, and then you
at first I got that, like, medicine.
Oh, not the epidural.
Like in an IV.
Some other pain med.
That makes you, it was so weird. Like, I have never been that high in my entire life. Like, I can't remember what the drug was called, but
she was loopy, a little loopy.
Very loopy.
Just kind of like, yeah.
And it kind of, like, puts you to sleep. So, like, I was napping, like, on and off. And at one point, I think I was trying to count the hours that I was in labor. And I started counting. And I turned to Colin and I go, what was I counting? I go, I don't know.
She's just like, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was 5. You got to 5, and you were just like, was it 6 or what am I counting for?
Yeah, it was
just like, I don't know.
I you know, it's an alternative to the epidural, but I kind of wish I'd just gone straight to the epidural because I didn't like it. I was so out of it. And then I did get the epidural eventually. And then I
took a nap.
Took a little siesta for a couple hours. I don't know how long it was
It
because
was
I was
about,
taking the nap.
I think it was about 3 hours.
Okay.
You fell asleep for about 3 hours, and then you woke up, and the doctor came back and checked the baby.
Well, because I was like, I can feel a lot of, like, pressure right now.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like cramping, like contractions. It just feels like I need a push, like I'm ready to push. So, yeah, so she checked me and she's like, yeah, you're at like 9 centimeters, so we'll get the doctor. And another reason that I was induced was because
No, that's not what happened. You woke up from the nap, they checked you, and she's like, all right, let's have this baby. You were like 2 centimeters. You had the kid shortly after waking up after your nap.
Yeah, I was 9 centimeters.
I thought it was a lot less than that. I could have sworn it was like...
You don't deliver a baby until
whatever.
you get to 10 centimeters.
Okay, I don't know numbers, I'm sorry. I thought it was just you woke up, she checked, and birthing started.
Yeah, no,
That's how I remember it.
Well, here's a lesson for everyone who doesn't know. You don't have your baby until you're 10 centimeters so that their big head can fit out of you. So I had to be at least 9 centimeters before they're like, let's have the baby.
Okay.
So
I got the number wrong, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, so she went in, she got my doctor, but yeah, the reason I got induced was because I wanted my specific doctor to deliver the baby. I didn't want a different doctor who was on call to deliver the baby. And I was overdue already, but my doctor was on call for that week. So she was already in the hospital, and I knew that it would be her delivering the baby. So they went and got my doctor, and because I had Amelia at 5:58, I think, and so they went and got her. They got everything set up. They did give me the option to have a mirror, and I did take it, which was strange because I wanted to see what was happening, and I thought that was a cool option, so I took it. I don't think I'd do it again. It's a little weird seeing yourself pushing a baby out. Yeah. So I don't think I'd do that again. You had to watch it anyway. I mean, Yeah, he didn't really have a choice. But we also kind of held off on pushing a little bit because I really wanted my mom to be there. And they had left like a couple hours before, I think.
I don't remember.
They were there before I got the epidural. I think and then I got the epidural, and then I took a nap, and when I was getting ready to take the nap, that's when they left. And so I called my mom, and I was like, okay, they're saying like we're ready to have the baby. Like, where are you? And they're like, okay, we're heading over. We're on our way. And we waited like an extra 15 minutes for my mom to get there, so before I pushed the baby out. Because the doctor's like, yeah, we still got a little bit of time, so we can wait. And then she got there, and I pushed for 7 minutes, which everyone keeps telling me is amazing for having your first baby. So,
I mean, I think that's just amazing in general.
That I'm able to birth a human being, it is pretty.
Because you hear so many horror stories of people pushing for hours.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my god.
She was like, flew right
and
out.
then it was like 3 pushes, basically.
Something like
three
two
or four
Yeah.
at most.
Yeah.
And the baby was here, and it was just like, really? That's it?
Yeah.
Every time you watch a TV show or a movie or anything about childbirth, it is the most painful, long, excruciating thing in the world. And cancer's usually involved if you're watching Grey's Anatomy.
Maybe lupus or something,
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so it went pretty quickly. And then she was out. And that was that. I do remember at one point though, like, I got the epidural, but I don't know if maybe they gave me the wrong dosage, or maybe my body just didn't take it the way I thought that it did. But also I've heard a lot of people aren't up and walking after they have the baby, and I did do skin to skin for about an hour, but after that, they cut the cord. He cut the cord. Did you cut the cord?
I did.
Okay, I don't know what was happening.
It wasn't
down
my
there.
choice. I was told I had to cut the cord.
I probably told him that. Well, I feel like that's an experience. That's a thing that the dad's supposed to do. I remember before we had her, he was like, isn't that something that like the medical professionals are supposed to do? And I was like, no, like the dad can do that. You literally just take some scissors and you cut it. So he cut the cord. They did all of her testing and everything. He got to hold on to her for a while. And then I was up and walking right after I had her. I went to the bathroom, and then they put me in the wheelchair, put her in the bassinet, and they wheeled us over to the postpartum room. And in the hospital, like right after I had the baby, like the people in the room were him, my mom, and my grandma. But after I had the baby, his mom was also waiting in the waiting room. So everybody kind of got a chance to hold her and kiss her. That's my mom, but I'm not going to answer. I'll call her back. She's still at work anyway. So they wheeled us into the postpartum room, and you fell asleep like immediately. And
Yeah, because I had...
You had a really long day.
The bed that I was offered was
a lot of work for him.
It was a couch, and they just gave me like extra pillows to make it into a bed.
Yeah.
That was what I was sleeping on. Yeah. It was not comfortable at all.
So.
It was rough. It was real rough.
Yeah. He had such a hard birth experience.
It was.
Just like want to reach over and like smack you right now. So he was pretty much knocked out, but I did have a nurse come in, and she gave Amelia a bath and helped me go to the bathroom a couple times, because non-fun things that they don't tell you about having a baby, going to the bathroom by yourself is difficult. It's also very important that you pee and crap after you have a baby. They want to make sure that everything is working properly. It's a lot. It's the non-beautiful part of childbirth that nobody likes to talk about. So there was that. And then, I guess, I was just gonna talk about like postpartum, like the first couple days I think after she was there. Oh no, I wanted to ask you how you felt like the first time you held her. The first time you like saw her coming out of me. Or out of me, I guess.
I really don't know. It was just like, I was still in awe of just kind of how fast everything was. So like, I was just kind of just like, oh my god, like,
There's a baby.
stuff just happened, and like, more stuff just happened, and like, it was just like I did not have time in my brain to even like formulate thoughts. It was just like a whirlwind in my head of nothing. It was crazy. Yeah.
Well, after you had time to recover from that, did you have maybe any loving thoughts towards your wife and child or anything?
Do you know that you've probably seen it? The little otter that holds up
It's like, I made
a
this.
little baby otter. And he goes, I made this.
That's how you felt? You just wanted to go around and be like, I made this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was also though afraid of holding her because I've never really like held babies or small toddler children, and you know they're just so tiny and fragile, and it's just like you know,
A little tepid.
a little bit.
You also, I think you just like didn't know what to say. I was like, talk to her. She was like crying. And, you know, obviously our voices are the voices that she heard every day for the 9 months that she was in there. So I was like, talk to her. And you're like, I don't know what to say to her. Like, she just got here. What do you talk to a newborn baby about?
That's something you learn, just,
you just
saying anything and anything
Literally.
to the baby, because you're so used to actually like having conversations. When I was told just talk to her, it's just like, what am I going to talk to the baby about?
Literally.
This baby has no life experience.
Walking.
I can't talk to her about my crappy day at my job.
You could.
She can't relate to that.
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very cute because like my mom was taking pictures and everybody of course was like taking pictures like of our family that was there. And he was like, make sure your flash is off. Make sure you don't want to like hurt her. She's got new eyes. You don't want to hurt her little baby eyes. So that was cute.
Dark room.
It was cute.
The room was dark.
He was very concerned about his child and her eyes. But
I throw her around now. I do. In the morning sometimes I'll toss her up here on the couch when she wants to watch a movie. She loves it.
She's a lot less fragile now. She's a little more resilient, you know, than being 3 minutes old. I don't know. I guess when I held her for the first time, I kind of felt the same. Like, so much stuff happened so quickly. Like, I was sleeping. I woke up, and they're like, okay, we're going to have a baby now. And I pushed her out that quickly, and I was like, it's over. Like, that was it. I really expected it to take a lot longer than it did, because I was only in labor, like actual labor, for about 7 hours, maybe 8, 7 or 8 hours, and I just didn't expect it to go so quickly. And then like they handed her to me, and I was able to do skin to skin for about an hour. And I think another one of my concerns was like, oh, I need her to eat right now, because I breastfed, and I was like, oh, well, let's see if she'll eat. And she wasn't, like, she just didn't want to. She was an extremely alert baby, and she was just kind of like looking around and like, you know, looking at people, and she was not very interested in eating right away, which was fine. But of course, as a first-time mom, I was really concerned about that. But I mean, you know, after all of the shock wore off, you know, then you get all those loving feelings and endorphins and everything. But yeah, at first I was just kind of like, I just had a baby. That's a thing. So it was a lot. But then after we had her, we were in the hospital for about a week.
It was a week total.
Yeah.
It was my entire time off.
Yeah, which was really unfortunate because he had to go back to work once we got home. Like, we went home, and then he had to leave to go to work the next day.
I had saved up some vacation.
Or no, I think it was a weekend. I didn't know that we were... a Monday, so we still had
It
like
was-
2 extra
I-
weekend
yeah.
days, but
I had saved up some vacation time, and I used all my vacation because we were saving for a house as well, so I didn't want to just take the time off and lose out on that money.
yeah.
So I
And
used-
we were living with his parents, so I did have a lot of help, like after I first had her. But we were there for 5 days total because Amelia came out a little jaundiced.
Yeah.
So
Billy Rubin blanket.
yeah, initially they keep you about a day or 2 after you have the baby. I think we were gonna be discharged the next day. Or no, it was 2 days.
They recommended we stay with the.
Well, it was because we were originally going to be. I was discharged technically from my doctor 2 days after having her, because I was fine, but she also had really bad baby acne, like so many little red bumps all over her face, cutest face, just covered in red bumps, and they put her on the blanket, and we stayed there for 3 extra days. And they gave us the option of course, you can go home since you're technically discharged, or you can stay, and we treat it like just like a extended hospital stay, but you're not getting charged extra for it. And of course, I was not going to leave my, day-old baby at the hospital, a couple day-old baby at the hospital by herself. So I stayed, which was very exhausting. Because again, you're just in a hospital bed. I was doing all of the breastfeeding and everything, and he actually went home for a couple days. Like, he would come back during the day, and then he would leave at night.
I think I did one day where I actually slept in our bed because I was
Because
working again at this point.
Yeah, and it was still just those couches. They don't give your
And
spouse an actual bed to sleep on.
I was working. Was that when I was?
You were
shift?
first shift.
Yeah, so I started at 7 or 8.
Yeah, he was
So
up
it
at
wasn't,
like 6.
It wasn't super early, but when you're not sleeping for a week and then you're asked to go back to work and wake up early, I needed just like 1 day
Yeah.
to like actually sleep in not a makeshift bed.
Yeah, so it was a lot, and I would have preferred to have been home, but then her jaundice levels did go down, and her baby acne actually cleared up on the same day, because they were worried about that too, and the nurse was like, I've never seen a case that bad, and I've never seen it clear up that quickly. So all around, everything about her birth was just abnormal. Everything about
We're going
her
to talk
birth was
about abnormal, then we need to talk about the nurses and their inability to put the blindfold on correctly.
Yeah, so when your baby has jaundice, and if they give them the little Billy blanket, which is just like a blue light pad that they sleep on, and you swaddle them in it with the pad. And they give them these little glasses so that it doesn't hurt their eyes if they look at the blanket. Why did the nurses put on her glasses upside down, inside out? It's like...
Inside out and upside down.
It's such a simple thing. So every time they'd come in, I'd have to put them back on the correct way.
And it wasn't just one nurse. We had like 4 or 5, and it was all of them.
Nobody could seem to get these glasses on.
Not once.
I mean, the nursing staff was great. Don't get me wrong.
That was not a big issue, the whole blindfold thing. It was
But
a minor detail.
But of all the things to get wrong, that's the thing you get wrong. So there was that. Also, when we were getting ready to leave, I had one nurse who was not the greatest. Not because she wasn't necessarily nice. She was just a little overbearing, and I just had a baby. I'm just trying to do my thing. I don't need you all in my face right now.
She was super attached to our baby.
Which was so strange.
And it was just like, okay, I pulled my car around, we put her in the car seat, and like, she just kept like talking to the baby.
Yeah. Like, we
and,
just
like,
want to go home.
being
We've
cute,
been
and
here
it's
for a
just
week.
like, okay, like, we're both in the car, all of us are in the
Yeah,
car.
everybody's buckled in,
like,
baby's in correctly, we're ready to go.
We're gonna leave, and you're still babbling
talking
to my baby. Like,
It was just very strange. So, that was a little weird. But, yeah, so then we finally got to go home. And she was okay. They do recommend that you bring them back a couple days after they've had the Billy blanket to be checked again. We didn't do that. So
she was fine.
I know there's probably gonna be someone
You
who's like, you should have brought your baby back, you're terrible parents. But she's alive and well and thriving, so she was fine. She was fine. And that was just another trip we didn't want to make back to the hospital that we'd already been in for a week. So.
Because we went to a hospital in the city, and we were living like 30, almost 40 minutes away at the time. So we just did not want to do that.
Yeah, and
that bit of a
I
drive.
wanted to rest and get her used to being at home, and yeah, it just wasn't in the cards for us. And then, kind of, how did you feel having her home for the first couple days? You know, being a new parent, and it's like someone gave you this baby, and they're like, "All right, do this now. Good luck."
Again, I kind of had to get over the whole holding her thing, because it was a thing that I needed to do.
Yeah, you have to hold your children.
Yeah, this was not a baby I could give back.
No.
So there was that, but like, I don't know, kind of got over that quickly. It was just changing diapers. That too, because I had never changed a diaper before.
He did a great job. He still does a great job. He's very helpful about it. He's definitely. Yeah, he's definitely an eager helper most of the time. Sometimes.
Just not the stinky ones.
Nobody likes the stinky ones. Yeah. So, I guess the first couple days home with her, for me, it just kind of feels like a blur. But, you know, because it's a lot of not sleeping.
Waking up every hour or 2 hours throughout the night.
A lot of half sleeping, so you're like kind of in a zombie state, and then a lot of, you know, breastfeeding. And
I still haven't recovered from the zombie state, and it's been 2 years almost.
I'm pretty sure this is just our life now. We're not. This is us now. We are zombies. We were living with his parents at the time, and I remember you said something to me about how your dad was like worried that I didn't like him because I was like holed up in our room, like right after I had
she
her.
She never came out. Well, not never.
I came out,
yeah.
But I mean, I would come out and I'd eat, and you know, and then I'd maybe, you know, say hi or something, and then I'd go back upstairs, and I would just kind of like, I would just be sitting and relaxing with her. I did have a tear when I gave birth to her, so they had to stitch me back up. So walking was a little uncomfortable sometimes, and going up and down the stairs wasn't really fun. But also just wanting to have some
alone time.
Yeah, quiet alone time with the baby. You know, not necessarily be around a ton of people. But I mean, it gets better. It got better. But it definitely was overwhelming for first time parent. Just realizing, like, hey, I have to do everything for this tiny person. Worth it. She's great. For the most part.
We're going to do it all over again.
All over again. Except we're not going to do it exactly the same as we did it last time. We'll do a birth story once we eventually have that kid, once we eventually have this kid. But we are going to do a home birth this time around, so no getting in the cars and driving to the hospital. I have a midwife now. We're going to be having the baby in a birthing pool in our bedroom. So Colin can
So Gerra rambled too long and my camera stopped recording.
I guess I just like talking too much. Yeah, but that's pretty much the birth story of Amelia and us being home at first, and hopefully the next one will be even more awesome.
You think you can beat 7 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably not, but we'll see. Alright.